I mean, it was incredible. It was a gas. I mean, the audience was really kind. They responded quickly. Johnny Depp finally discloses what no one thought was possible at the age of 62. For 40 years, Johnny Depp hid a secret. Not about scissorhands or pirates. About the night he left school at 15 to spend the night with a garage band in a van. About living next to gunpowder barrels in Hunter S. Thompson's cellar. About texts so savage they rocked a courtroom. He unveiled an art exhibition in October 2024 that showed what no Hollywood insider had anticipated. The painting demonstrated why he was correct all along about something everyone mistook, and why Disney bosses believed he was intoxicated on set. The journey of Johnny Depp did not start in the limelight. He was born in Owensboro, Kentucky on June 9, 1963. His father, John Christopher Depp, was a civil engineer, and his mother, Betty Sue Palmer, was a waitress who put in long hours. At home, things were erratic. Johnny's family relocated over 20 times before settling in Miramar, Florida, when he was 7 years old. His early years were chaotic. There was a lot of emotional strain at home because his parents were always fighting. They got divorced when he was 15, which left him scarred for life. Later on, Depp described his mother as the cruelest person he had ever encountered. Nevertheless, a spark grew amid all the chaos. Amidst the heat and chaos of Florida, amidst rock music and disrupted habits, Johnny discovered an odd sense of self. He made a choice at the age of 15 that most teenagers wouldn't even dare to think about. He left high school early. He didn't go out to perform or work. He desired to perform music. He became a member of the Kids, a garage band. They were hungry, noisy, and resolute. As opening acts for Iggy Pop and other giants, the band began to make waves in Florida's underground scene. However, survival was harsh. The gang slept in their vehicle and shared inexpensive meals. Depp was indifferent to the fact that they were barely making ends meet. Comfort wasn't what he was after. Sound was what he was after. He had no idea that his love of music would eventually take him in a totally other direction. At the age of 20, Depp wed makeup artist Lorianne Allison in 1983. She was optimistic about him and 6 years older than him. With the goal of becoming successful musicians, they relocated to Los Angeles together. The most heartbreaking of the odd occupations Depp took on was selling ballpoint pens over the phone. He would cold phone random people every day in an attempt to sell them something he had no interest in. He wasn't sure if the dream was worth it, and he was broke and frustrated. Lori, however, had faith in him. One of her buddies who worked in entertainment was going to permanently alter Johnny's life. Nicolas Cage was that friend. He perceived something in Johnny, a presence, a charm, or a mystery. He should try acting, Cage said. Despite his lack of conviction, Depp attended an agency meeting. Next was the A Nightmare on Elm Street audition. Not even Depp was there for himself. The daughter of filmmaker Wes Craven saw him, even though he had accompanied a friend. He seemed dreamy to her. That was sufficient. Depp was cast as Glenn Lance, a teenager who is sucked whole by a bed and suffers a terrible end. On a budget of only $1.8 million, the movie made almost $25 million when it came released on November 9, 1984. He emerged from the shadows and began his career with that one gory moment. Then came 1985. Once more, everything was altered. The youngsters, his band, eventually fell apart. His marriage did the same. He had left school for music, but that was finished. He just had the bizarre new world of acting, which was suddenly becoming available to him. And no backup plan. It was a cruel decision. Continue following the music that hasn't brought you anywhere, or venture into the uncharted territory of cinema. Acting was his choice. What at the moment appeared to be failure would eventually turn into the start of something enormous. He became well known 2 years later, in 1987. In 21 Jump Street, he was cast as Officer Tom Hansen, taking Jeff Jagger's place. Suddenly, at the age of 24, Johnny Depp was on the wall of every adolescent bedroom in America. The show was a cultural sensation, in addition to being well-liked. It addressed difficult topics like violence and drugs, and it made Depp a worldwide teen idol. Johnny, however, detested it. He thought he was being marketed and packaged. He thought his character was predictable and flat. It was suffocating. Fame. He began to argue with producers, and even damaged his trailer in an attempt to get fired. He rebelled in the most surprising way, because he wanted to leave the world, even though everyone loved him. He picked parts that left folks perplexed. He starred in John Waters' crazy, satirical 1990 picture Crybaby. Depp accepted the role because of it, not because it made fun of young idols. Waters claimed that after seeing Depp's face featured in every teen magazine in the supermarket, he chose him. Johnny destroyed the image of a heartthrob he never wanted by using Crybaby. Initially, the movie was a failure, earning only $8.3 million in a $12 million budget. However, it developed into a cult classic over time. More significantly, the message was unambiguous. Johnny Depp refused to follow the rules set by Hollywood. He took a step later that year that would change the course of his career. He collaborated on Edward Scissorhands with Tim Burton. It was an odd, quiet, and intensely emotional role. Depp portrayed Scissors for Hands, a lonely artificial guy who yearned for love. It was a far cry from his previous roles. Both crowds and reviews praised the performance. The movie validated what Johnny had been attempting to prove and earned 4 times its $20 million budget. He was more than just a handsome man. He was a creative person. He avoided everything secure and predictable after that. He declined large offers in favor of characters who were dark, ambiguous, or simply strange. "I will never go back to TV," he declared. He assured interviewers that he never did. "I prefer pumping gas." He no longer sought fame or fortune. He was searching for purpose. His personal life was equally as demanding as his work, which was still developing. He developed a close friendship with actress Sherilyn Fenn following his divorce. They spent more than 3 years together after meeting on the production of a student movie. She even made an appearance on 21 Jump Street, demonstrating how deep their love was for a brief engagement. Jennifer Grey followed. 2 weeks after they first met, Depp asked her to marry him. Before it ended, the engagement lasted for 9 months. He hated the image, the fame, and the pressure. Everything was too much. However, his subsequent partnership would go down in history. He met Winona Ryder during the 1989 premiere of Great Balls of Fire. They clicked right away. They got engaged within 5 months. Johnny even got Winona permanently inked on his arm. In the early 1990s, the partnership came to represent romance in Hollywood. It became a part of Depp's story, but it ended in 1993. Fervent, intense, and bursting with unadulterated desire. When Edward D. Wood Jr. was portrayed by Johnny Depp, he became the guy in Ed Wood in 1994, not simply a character. It had been said that Ed Wood was the worst director ever. Additionally, his picture Plan N from Outer Space was once chosen as the worst movie ever produced. But he wasn't made fun of by Depp. He showed him love as if it were something lovely, displaying his strange charm and reckless hope. Depp claimed that the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz and Ronald Reagan's upbeat demeanor served as inspiration for the portrayal. It may sound strange, but it was effective. The black and white film seemed to be a love letter to all the weird, misunderstood artists out there. It also signaled the start of something more significant, his enduring and renowned collaboration with filmmaker Tim Burton. In the darkness, they discovered magic together. Depp and Burton collaborated once more on Sleepy Hollow, 5 years later. Depp as Cabad Crane this time, a brilliant but anxious detective, attempting to investigate murders in a ghostly village. At first, the studio was hoping for someone like Brad Pitt, but Depp had a completely other idea. He desired Crane to be clumsy, delicate, and even spider-averse. He also requested a lengthy artificial nose that was modeled after classic figures, like Angela Lansbury and Sherlock Holmes. The outcome was distinctive, even though the studio rejected the extreme stuff. Crane wasn't a hero. He freaked out and fainted, yet he solved crimes using logic and science. People adored the film because it felt like a terrifying dream thanks to the eerie trees, gloomy fog, and Danny Elfman's music. In addition to earning nearly $27 million, the film took home an Oscar for art direction. Depp played Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in 2005, which is one of his most well-known roles. However, this was not the colorful, entertaining Wonka that people had recalled. Depp's portrayal was emotionless, rigid, and pallid. He claimed that children's TV hosts served as his inspiration, and he even modeled the hairdo after Anna Wintour of Vogue. Depp refuted the notion that he resembled Michael Jackson in appearance and behavior. Even youngsters didn't appeal to his Wonka. There was a new twist in the movie: Wonka's tumultuous history with his father, a strict dentist. It was unquestionably more contentious and deeper. There were differing opinions among critics. It was deemed brilliant by some. Others described it as simply unsettling. Nevertheless, the movie earned around $476 million worldwide, and Depp was nominated for a Golden Globe. No one remembers his interpretation of Wonka, whether they liked it or not. Depp took up another task that year. In Burton's stop-motion animated feature Corpse Bride, he provided the voice of Victor Van Dort. Depp was recording for Corpse Bride at night, while filming Charlie and the Chocolate Factory during the day. It was an emotional, quiet role. He had to convey Victor's apprehension, generosity, and development only with his voice. The narrative traced Victor's journey from the land of the living to the land of the dead, drawing inspiration from an ancient folktale. It was simultaneously humorous and depressing. The animation was revolutionary as well. Instead of using film, it used digital cameras, which allowed for faster and sharper shooting. Depp and Burton's Corpse Bride became another success, and was nominated for an Oscar. And it demonstrated that Depp could influence people without being observed. Depp returned to the role of the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland in 2010. He and Burton had collaborated so much by that point that it felt natural. Hatter, played by Depp, was affectionate, devoted, and a little insane. Sometimes joyous, sometimes tragic. Combining CGI and costumes, the movie was Burton's biggest hit, grossing over $1 billion. They got back together in 2012 for Dark Shadows, in which Depp portrayed Barnabas, a 200-year-old vampire. It was quirky, fashionable, and full of odd comedy. Although it wasn't universally praised by critics, it demonstrated the depth of their creative development. From modest, eccentric tales to large, outrageous shows. However, Depp's performance in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 1998, was among his most intense parts to date. In order to portray the irascible journalist, Hunter S. Thompson, Depp lived with him in addition to studying him. When they first met in 1994, everything were chaotic. After tasering Depp in a bar, Thompson invited him to his residence, where they blew stuff up and fired weapons. Later, Depp spent 4 months living in Thompson's basement. It stood close to a keg of gunpowder, was tiny, and was crawling with spiders. Depp drove Thompson's automobile, dressed like him, and even had Thompson cut his head to match his bald patches. He followed him around and recorded hours of their chats. It didn't even seem like Depp was acting when the movie came out. Thompson was his name. Their bond was so strong that, upon Thompson's passing, Depp granted his last desire by launching his ashes from a 153-foot cannon, while Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man played. It was not just a film, it was a tie of complete commitment, love, and lunacy. Depp's scope, however, extended beyond strange, shattered heroes. He portrayed an undercover FBI agent who infiltrates the mob in the 1997 film Donnie Brasco. It was a true story. For 6 years, Joseph Piston pretended to be a mobster. To learn how risky such life was, Depp trained with Piston. He or his pals could be killed for a single error. Depp received instruction on how to talk, walk, and think like a mobster. He had to demonstrate the emotional toll as well, as he struggles to balance his allegiance to the FBI with his relationship with the mafia Al Pacino. His character begins to lose himself. In Depp's portrayal, the tension, the falsehoods, the remorse were all evident. It was evocative, nuanced, and profoundly human. Depp played George Young in Blow, 2001, who assisted in bringing cocaine to America in the 1980s. Jung became a millionaire while working with Pablo Escobar, but he lost everything. In prison, Depp met with Jung and observed him closely. He sought to comprehend Jung's way of thinking as well as his way of living. To sound more like the real man, he even improvised a few lines. Jung's recording a tape for his father is one of the film's most heartbreaking scenes. Depp quoted Jung directly, "It was more than a performance. It was an homage." Jung's story was tragic, glitzy, and wild. From the highs of prosperity to the lows of losing his family, Depp displayed it all. They grew to be good friends. Additionally, Depp claimed that he had adored Jung since their first encounter. Johnny Depp was already well known for portraying quirky, unusual roles. However, he did something unexpected in 2003. He agreed to play the lead in a Disney pirate film. But he wasn't just a pirate that he brought to the screen. It was anarchy. Like a rock star who hasn't slept in days, he arrived to the first table read, staggering, slurring his sentences. They all assumed he was kidding. Disney execs were so perplexed that they inquired as to whether he was intoxicated. One of them even believed he was destroying the whole movie. Depp wasn't kidding, though. His entire performance was based on the wild Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards. He believed that the rock stars of the 18th century were pirates. Richards was the ideal example of the current version. Unpredictable, rebellious, and somehow resilient. In order to give Jack Sparrow a peculiar charm and optimism, Depp even included a small amount of the cartoon skunk, Pepe Lou. He wouldn't soften it, Disney has the option to replace him or accept his version. They didn't take his place. It wasn't simply liked by critics, they were in awe. According to Roger Ebert, it is unique in every way. It was hailed as a comic acting masterclass by another critic. This bold decision paid out for Depp. He received a Golden Globe nomination, his first Academy Award nomination, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. The weird guy from indie films abruptly rose to prominence as the spokesperson for a worldwide craze. Then 2006 arrived. When Dead Man's Chest came out, it destroyed everything in its way. It made $135.6 million on its first weekend, in North America alone. No movie has ever done it. It earned more than $100 million in 2 days, $200 million in 8, and $400 million in 45 days. It generated more than $1 billion worldwide. No one believed that a pirate film could accomplish this, but Jack Sparrow had become the attraction. The third movie, At World's End, was released a year later, with nearly 4,300 theaters spread across North America, and over 11,500 screens overall. It debuted in more cinemas than any previous movie. It generated around $139.8 million in just 4 days. It generated $153 million in day 5. Depp's Pirate dominated the box office, despite the simultaneous release of Spider-Man 3 and Shrek the Third. It earned $963 by the time it departed theaters, $4 million globally. Up until 2022, it was the record for Memorial Day weekend. Jack continued to draw crowds even when the following sequels slowed down. On Stranger Tides debuted with $90.1 million in the United States in 2011, but it was a great hit abroad. In one weekend, it earned $256.3 million abroad. At the time, it was the largest international opening. It became the quickest ever Disney film to reach the $1 billion mark globally. Dead Men Tell No Tales earned $794 million worldwide and $62 million domestically in 2017. Still a glaring symbol, but not as large as before. Jack Sparrow was more well known than the movies. Then everything began to unravel. The Pirates creator started to veer off track by 2010. Tracy Jacobs, his agent, compared it to observing two distinct individuals. The once professional department gained a reputation for being extremely late. On set, crews would wait for hours. Filming days were sometimes squandered on Dead Men Don't Tell Stories. To check if Depp was awake, the Australian production team actually sent a crew member outside his home. The message was sent out when he eventually stirred. The Eagle has touched down. It was more than idleness. His drug and alcohol abuse had gotten worse. He would arrive late, confused, or not at all. The entire filming process became uncomfortable and uncertain. Behind the scenes, producers debated who should face him. In order to control the mayhem, Disney even had to devise silent technologies. His personal routines were turning into a nightmare for his career. Then came his romance with Amber Heard. In 2009, they met on the set of a film. Johnny Depp was already a legendary figure in Hollywood. Amber Heard was a youthful, aspirational, and growing force. They were filming The Rum Diary, in which Heard was cast as Chanel and Depp as Paul Kemp. They clicked right away. Both were in relationships at the time, Depp with Vanessa Paredes and Heard with Taja Von Ree. But by 2012, those relationships were over, and Depp and Heard became an item. At first, the world saw them as a glamorous new couple. Heard once remarked, "Working with Depp felt like torture, but in a way that thrilled her." Their love story would soon become one of the most bitter and scandalous sagas in celebrity history. But beneath the headlines and red carpets, everything was far from perfect. They were married on February 3, 2015, in a low-key ceremony at their Los Angeles mansion, followed by a lavish party on Depp's private island in the Bahamas. But their marriage didn't last. Only 15 months later, in May 2016, Heard filed for divorce and asked for a restraining order, claiming that Depp had repeatedly abused her, verbally, physically, and emotionally. According to court documents, there had been at least 3 instances of him hitting her and smashing items in their house. The judge ordered Depp to stay away. The breakup turned into public warfare, the kind where no one escapes unscathed, and then came the op-ed. In December 2018, Heard wrote a piece for the Washington Post, but she didn't name Depp, but everyone knew who she meant. Images of Heard's face, bruised and swollen, were all over the media. Depp denied it all, and his lawyers said she was lying for money. She identified herself as a victim of domestic violence. Depp lost his job right away, particularly his role as Captain Jack Sparrow. He sued her for $50 million in March 2019, claiming that her statements were false and damaged his reputation. Heard retaliated, claiming that she had also lost her job and was the target of hate. The court case erupted, with witnesses, photos, and texts all coming to light. One of the darkest moments occurred in Australia in March 2015, while Depp was filming Pirates of the Caribbean. Dead Men Tell No Tales. They were staying in a rented house when a fight broke out. The world watched, trying to determine who was telling the truth, but for many, it was unclear. Depp's fingertip was severed. He claimed that Heard threw a vodka bottle at him, shattering it and cutting his right middle finger, leaving blood all over the place. His doctor reported that the fingertip was later discovered on the kitchen floor. Depp underwent surgery. Production was halted. Heard's team said that Depp had injured himself, and there were graphic, startling pictures. After their divorce was finalized in January 2017, Depp agreed to pay Heard $7 million, which she said she would donate to charity. However, it later turned out that only a portion of the money had been paid, and that some of it came from Elon Musk. That injury became a symbol of the chaos between them, and no one could look away. The story continued even after they signed a non-disclosure agreement. Depp claimed she had lied, while Heard insisted she had told the truth. They released a joint statement describing their relationship as passionate and volatile, but built on love, but it didn't persuade anyone. Their reputations were in ruins, and the legal disputes continued. Then came new testimony. During her marriage to Depp, a concierge stated Heard frequently phoned down at 11 p.m. to invite Musk in, and he was observed leaving the next morning. Staff at the Eastern Columbia building, where Depp and Heard lived, reported Musk was visiting late at night. Intimate and close, they were seen on surveillance tape in the elevator. During the trial, Depp's private texts were read in court, revealing his anger, and he called Musk mollusk and sent violent messages to his agent. Heard and Musk had claimed that their relationship began after the divorce, but the building staff denied this. It appeared to be betrayal. Although he acknowledged that he wasn't proud of the graphic and ugly words he used to describe slicing Musk and hoping that Heard's karma would catch up with her. They depicted a man at the edge of his rope, watching his life fall apart in front of the world, until Heard's agent disclosed something else. The notion that it was a genuine relationship was shattered when she texted the agent after her breakup with Musk in 2017 to say she had never loved him, that she was just filling space, that she needed time to recover from her debt, and that Musk was a distraction. It appeared to be a rebound, and people began to doubt everything. Only $1.3 million SOF, the $3.5 million promised, was ever delivered. Musk even emailed the ACLU to confirm he was helping her fulfill the pledge. Heard had stated she would donate her entire divorce settlement to charity, but documents revealed Elon Musk donated $500,000 to the ACLU in her name, and another portion came from Depp. Then came the money trail. When the court case was still ongoing, it appeared as though she was trying to maintain a clean image, but the truth began to erode that carefully constructed narrative. In 2023, Walter Isaacson's biography of Musk exposed the true toxic nature of that relationship, which Musk described as the most agonizing relationship of his life. There were moments of passion too. According to his brother Kimball, Heard was a nightmare and his family detested her. Isaacson characterized it as a dark vortex, and Musk claimed it left him with long-lasting emotional scars. Heard once spent 2 months creating a custom costume to dress as Musk's favorite character in Overwatch, Mercy. Heard said she still loved him, adding, "Elon loves fire and sometimes it burns him. It was twisted love." Musk later acknowledged, "I am often a fool, but especially for love." Johnny Depp was one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood history, and he became a worldwide superstar following the huge success of Pirates of the Caribbean in 2003. With figures like that, you'd think he was set for life. He was receiving $20 million up front for each movie, plus back-end bonuses, $40 million for each pirated movie, and even $55 million from Alice in Wonderland, which brought in over $1 billion worldwide. However, in October 2017, he shocked the world by filing a lawsuit, alleging that his business managers had mismanaged $650 million over almost 20 years. He sued a company named the Management Group, claiming that they had collected $28 million in fees, or about 5% of his earnings, for 16 years without a documented contract, failed to pay his taxes, took out loans without alerting him, and spent his money recklessly, such as overpaying for security. The case continued for months until it was settled in July 2018, just weeks before it was scheduled to go to trial. A trial that could have revealed everything to the public, but the drama didn't stop there. He claimed that they concealed how bad things truly were, and by the time he learned about it, he was in serious financial trouble. But it wasn't just about the money. In April 2018, two of his longtime bodyguards, Eugene Areola and Miguel Sanchez, sued him, claiming they weren't paid properly after joining his private security team in 2016, and that they weren't given basic legal rights like rest periods, meal breaks, or overtime. More than guards, they said, they were exposed to dangerous situations, including being around illegal substances and vehicles, and they had to babysit Depp, protect him from the public, and even drive him around while he was allegedly under the influence. They described a chaotic work environment. After serving as caretakers, chauffeurs, and damage control, Depp suffered yet another setback when, in July 2018, a location manager named Greg "Rocky" Brooks filed a lawsuit over an incident that occurred on the set of the film City of Lies, which he was working on at the time. One night, when filming was scheduled to end at 10 p.m., Brooks was able to secure a brief extension, but by 11 p.m., the police informed them that they needed to conclude the matter. When Brooks forwarded that message, someone instructed him to deliver it straight to Depp, which is when everything went haywire. According to Brooks, Depp stank of alcohol and began screaming, "Who the are you? You don't have the authority to instruct me." The lawsuit then claimed that Depp had to be physically restrained by his bodyguards after punching him twice in the ribs and yelling, "I'll give you $100,000 to punch me in the face right now." The lawsuit garnered media attention and caused a delay in the release of the movie. The entire crew witnessed the incident, which caused embarrassment to the production, caused the film to be delayed, and added to Depp's mounting problems. The legal case continued to drag on, and by 2022 it was still pending. However, Depp had recently won his high-profile defamation trial against his ex-wife Amber Heard, and the timing of another public trial could have destroyed everything he was working to rebuild. The City of Lies case was quietly settled, just days before it was scheduled to go to trial. There was no public courtroom confrontation, no new headlines, just silence. The terms of the agreement were never disclosed, but Depp wasn't done surprising people. In October 2024, he made a comeback not in a film, but in the art world. In Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood, one of the most prestigious art scenes in the world, he opened a solo exhibition titled A Bunch of Stuff, which included more than 70 original works, some of which he had painted decades before. Some of the pieces were surreal, raw, and personal. Others were colorful dreamscapes. Still others displayed intense emotion. In the first week, over 10,000 people attended, and despite the fact that many had written off Depp's art as just another celebrity pastime, critics were astounded by his talent, seeing depth, pain, and accuracy. On opening night, celebrities from the film and art worlds turned out. Together, they told a story of a man who had lived through chaos and poured it onto canvas. It was evident that Depp was not merely attempting to return, rather, he was attempting to reconstruct not only his reputation, but also his identity, not as a fallen celebrity, but as an artist who was at last in charge of the narrative he wished to tell.